Everybody, good morning. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Welcome. It's so good to see you. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope you're feeling good. I know I'm feeling good. Good morning, Alfred Kitchen and Elisa Muhammad and Andrea Hall, Andrew Nixon, Anita Shelton. I see you. I see you, Carl Bennett. I see you, Cassandra Winborn, Chanel, LaRhoda, Charles Johnson. I see you. I see you. I see you. So I hope everybody's doing well. I want everybody to know that if you're sitting on the sideline and thinking about starting to invest in the stock market, you guys know what a great week we had last week. A lot of you made a lot of money last week, and if you're looking to jump in and make your move, today might be the day to do that. The market's down a little bit, and everything's a little cheaper. Things have cooled off. Those are great times to jump in and buy that stock that you've been looking at and thinking about acquiring. Remember, when things go down, that's when we become investors. And then if you're going to sell, I like to sell when things go up. But again, that's not a clear pattern that always works every time. It's just something that I wanted to mention to you all. But there's a lot of good stuff happening. If you want to join our Stock Market Investors Club, feel free to go to drboycestockmarket.com. I just released a list of investments that I'm making right now that I think could be beneficial for you and your family. drboycestockmarket.com. All right. So here is what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to play a video actually. Hold on, let me turn this thing on. All right, so I wanted to play this video that I found. I was actually taking little Tay Tay to school today. I decided today that I wanted to, not today, last week actually. I decided I wanted to make an investment in little Tay Tay by basically, I said, every morning I think I want to take her to school, and she rides the bus. And she sent me a picture of her and the kids on the bus. And it is crazy. Like they were all hanging off the seats because the bus was so crowded. And I said, "My God, you look like you're like all being shipped off to a labor camp or something." Like it was just so packed on that freaking bus. And so anyway, she's not little Tay Tay anymore. She's becoming big. She's taller than me. She's almost 6 feet tall, and she's on the dance team. So I figured that investment of time would allow us to get to know each other and I get to know more about her life and stuff like that. So as I was taking her to school this morning, which shout out to all the parents that take their kids to school every day and do all the things. I mean, I have so much admiration for you because just getting in that line, that long ass line to like drop the kids off was just like, oh Lord, this is hard work. And so anyway, on my way back, so shout out to the parents that are doing the thing. I admire you tremendously. So we were after I dropped her off. On my way back, I started listening to this video, and this video is done by a guy named what's his name, Bill Beswick, and apparently Bill Beswick is, at least in the video, he was labeled as the number one sports psychologist. And in light of the training Dr. Alicia is going to do tomorrow in our Stock Market Investors Club on financial therapy, dealing with trauma, so you can have the confidence to overcome adversity. I thought this video was really telling in terms of really helping us understand one thing that's really important and often overlooked when it comes to financial success. Financial success, that give me a yes or no if you understand the relationship or have some understanding of the relationship between investing and risk. How many of you know that investing always involves risk? Give me a yes if you're fully aware that investors are not these people who magically make money rain out of the sky. Investors are not people that just always know the answers. Investors are not people who are always making money. That's a misnomer. That's a falsehood. A lot of us really believe that if I become an investor, I'm always going to make money, and if I screw it up, that means I'm screwed up. That means I didn't do it right and something's wrong with me. No, you're gonna mess up a lot. You're gonna mess up a lot. And I can tell you, I don't know. I don't know how if you all view me as a successful person or unsuccessful. I assume you've concluded I'm good at something because a lot of you come in here every day, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk. But I can tell you that so much success is just built on just the capacity to absorb tremendous amounts of failure. It really is that crazy. And so this video from this guy who's the number one sports psychologist in the world. He looks like he's now in his 80s. I said, this is a hell of a video that I want to share with everybody because I gained so much from hearing his perspective. And he's coached like some of the greatest athletes in the world. He's helped people that are absolute winners, helped them to find the courage to work with through adversity, things like that. And I know that this also applies to everything that we're doing here. Um, in fact, let's just be clear. Let's be intentional in our thinking here. Most of you are here. Let me know if you agree. You're here because you want to be a winner when it comes to your wealth. Let me know if you agree with that. If you want to win financially and just get on top, start the business, make the investments, do all the things that will put money in your pocket. All right, number two, I believe that a lot of you are here because you want to be winners for your family in general. It's not just the money. Remember, money is a gateway, among other things. Money is a gateway to get you access to the things that are more valuable than money. Right? So winning as an investor only matters for me if I'm also able to use my success as an investor to be a winner as a dad, to be a winner as a husband, to be a winner as a human being. Like, let me know if you get that connection, if you understand that. I want you to always see that. I want you to see money as a portal, as a gateway to another reality that you can create in other spaces because now money's no longer a barrier. I mean, I want you to think about how many people can't have the life they want, can't do the things they want, can't do for their kids, can't do for their spouse, can't do, for anybody because they feel financially trapped, right? So the third thing is, let me know if you agree that we're here because we want to just win for our people. Let me know if you agree with me that winning for our people is really important. Let me know if you agree that we're in a competition. I sound like a radical black man when I say that I don't believe we have any true allies. I don't believe we have any true friends. Let me know if you agree that no one else is going to solve our problem but us. We have to do this ourselves. No one's done it. It's been 400 years. We've given them plenty of time. They haven't done it yet, right? So let me know if you agree with me that part of this journey is learning how to win as it pertains to what it takes to compete, right? Let me know if you agree with that. Okay, now I want to ask you this. Do you agree with me on this? Do you agree that oppression, that being black sometimes comes with an expectation that you're going to lose? Has anybody ever noticed that? How many stories about being black come with pity parties and oh well, of course you didn't succeed because you're black. Of course you're in jail because you're black. Of course you don't have a job because you're black. Of course you're not succeeding. Of course you can't take care of your family because you're black. Right? And then it just kind of becomes this sort of repetitive process of of white folks winning every single time because maybe we don't even believe that we should win. We don't even put ourselves in the game because we've been trained to believe that we're going to lose before the game even begins. So a lot of us don't even try. I remember that's the nature of oppression. This is what people like Dr. Claude Anderson do a great job of explaining is how you were trained to think this way during slavery. If someone wants to compete against you and defeat you, the hardest way for them to defeat you is to actually settle it on the battlefield. The easiest way for them to defeat you is to get you to give up and walk away before the battle begins. Take it from me. I told you guys I love poker. Poker is a fun game. I was pretty good at it. And let me just tell you the truth. The one thing about poker that was really fascinating to me is a lot of people don't know this about poker, but typically in poker, Texas Hold'em, the hand is not won by the person with the best cards. Did y'all know how many? I don't know if anybody's ever played it before, but literally, again, I played thousands and thousands of hands, right? The hand is not usually won by the person with the best cards. People who don't know, they think, oh, well, it depends on what cards you get and how lucky you are. No, it depends on how well you can get inside the head of your opponent. It comes down to how well you can identify the situation and what kind of consciousness you have about what's happening. So when I was sitting at a poker table, I told you about the time I was in Wyoming or something, one of those white people states, with my wife, and we went to this casino on an Indian reservation or something, and in the middle of nowhere. And I sat down at this table full of like these cowboy looking dudes. They were all kind of like, like country folk type guys, right? And again, but that doesn't bother me. I don't assume that people from the country or white people from the South or anything, I don't assume that they're all racist. Some of the nicest people I know are from the South, right? So, but they're not. This wasn't the South though. This is like the West, kind of, right? But still, same idea. So I sat down at this poker table, and I'm unassuming. No one knows that I have a PhD in finance and that I'm pretty good at math and calculations in my head. They just say, well, this is the black dude. He probably just is like a regular guy that doesn't, but I don't let them think any different because I want to, if I sit down and play, I want to win. So I sat there at this table and things were kind of going my way. And I started with maybe $200, and I told my wife, "Come back in an hour, and then we'll go to dinner." And so I sat there and I played, and within 30 minutes, I had $1,000. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so much fun!" So I went back in, and I played again. And within 30 minutes, I had $1,000. And so I sat there and I played, and within 30 minutes, I had $1,000. And My $200 had turned into $1,000. So I'm sitting there with this big stack of chips in front of me, and these guys looking at me like they're starting to get suspicious. They're starting to like, the guy's got his toothpick looking back at me like, okay, this guy's on. What's going on right here, right? So what happened then was my wife comes back and she goes, "Boys, let's go eat now." And so I'm sitting there thinking, man, if I walk away, these guys are gonna be mad at me, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. They might kill me or beat me up or try to rob me on my way up to the car. So I said, I'm gonna give them some time to get their money back. So I said, okay. Well, I said, give me another hour, and I'm just gonna play a little bit longer. So I sat there and I played. I wanted to give them a fair chance. I'm not gonna give you your money back, but I'll get you a chance for you to get your money back. So I sat there and I played, and then after another hour, the $1,000 had turned into probably 2,000 or more. And now they're really pissed. I'm sitting here with a stack of chips so high I could barely see over top of it. Other dudes are like pissed off and angry, and I could really kind of tell maybe I'm not gonna say $2,000 isn't a lot of money for me, but I probably made more money than most of the guys at the table. I'm not bragging, just this is just true. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, they mad at me now. And so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, how are we going to get to the car? Because we are in the middle of an Indian reservation, and if somebody came out and killed us, they wouldn't find out for 3 days, and we just disappear. And so I'm really thinking this. I'm literally warning Alicia, like, baby, we got to run. We got to run to the car because they gonna come get that money back. And so Alicia comes up and she's like, Boyce, you ready to eat now? And I'm like, ah, dang. Okay, so I told the guys, I said, hey, I'm sorry, fellas. I gotta go, and I got my wife is back, and we gotta go eat. And one guy looks at me, he goes, so do you always do what your wife tells you to do? And so he seems like making fun of me, right? Trying to like pull my punk card. And but I still got up because and I got to be sensitive of that because I married my wife. I had these guys, they called me a simp because I got on one knee and I was emotional, and they've been calling me a simp. This is so mean. They call me, the internet calls me a simp sometimes. I don't, that's not very nice. So I'm like, I ain't no simp. I don't do it but then I'm like, nah, boys, you hungry, and you kind of do listen to your wife, so you need to just stop fronting, just get up and go. So I get up and I take my chips and I leave. And so that story is interesting to me because, well, first of all, I think it's because it led me into poker. But one little trick about poker, which connects to what we were talking about before, is that one thing I don't know if these guys really knew. I don't know how they played. I don't know this, but the thing is, when you become a good poker player, the first thing I do is I think about things like information. Remember, I told you with investing, information is one of the most important aspects of investing. Stock prices move because you get new information. So I don't think about information the way regular people think about information. Uh, as kind of a doctor of this stuff, I look at information from a highly scientific level, right? The more information I have, the better off I'm going to be. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. Do you understand? Do we understand knowledge is power, right? So my goal in the game, and this is how I took all these dudes' money. And again, I had to get lucky and stuff a little bit, but for the most part, I have a style, right? And when it's working, it's really working. My goal was to create something called information asymmetry. And information asymmetry means that if we're playing poker, my goal is to figure out as much as I can about you and make sure you know as little as possible about me. So when I would sit at that table, I would literally not say a word. I would just watch, and I would listen to them talk, and I'd say, okay, Bud likes to talk a lot. Okay, that's the aggressive guy. Oh, he's a punk. He's a coward. He'll fold. He'll fold in any moment because the minute I scare him, he's gonna back off. Now this guy, he don't never fold for nothing. That means he's a big old fish. He's a big bully fish, which means that I can trick him into a situation where he's gonna keep raising me until I can just go in and take all the shit. That's what you're really thinking about, right? So literally in the game of poker, which relates, I promise you, this is not just a random story, it relates to what we were talking about. Literally, in most cases, when I was able to beat these guys and take their chips, it wasn't because I had the best cards. It was because I had information and I knew how to figure out, okay, you're really confident right now. You really think you have the best hand. So either A, I need to back away if I think you're never going to fold, or if I think you're a chicken, I can just convince you that I've got the one card that you're afraid of. Does that make sense? Like I've got I'm gonna get in your head and I'm playing behind you, so I get to watch your actions before you make an action, right? I get to see you move before you make me move. That's why they put positioning is very important in the game, right? So I don't play before you. I don't want you to know anything about what I'm gonna do. I want to know what you're gonna do, and then I can react to what you're going to do. But then after I react to what you're gonna do, I'm going to create a reaction that will cause you to have to then react to what I'm going to do, right? So long story short, that taught me a lot about race and black people and success and confidence and investing. A lot of times you'll be shocked how often people lose before the game even begins just because of the expectations they have for themselves or their own expectations of themselves relative to the extreme confidence of somebody else. That's kind of how pimps operate. Pimps appear to have extreme confidence, and some people are manipulated by that confidence. I see people on the internet who talk about investing, and I'll be watching them talk about it, and I'll say, God, he really knows nothing about investing, but people will believe him because he's really confident. Like he'll tell you, I know for a fact that the Nike stock is going to go up next month, and I'm like, I read 10,000 research papers on this topic, and all the leading scientists say you cannot predict the direction of an individual stock. But because you said it with such confidence, I know people are going to believe you. So, what I really want you to understand, this is my point here as I bring this up. Much of the success in business, life, and everything else really comes down to your expectations of yourself and your ability to sort of fight through those situations where maybe you're just not 100% sure. Right. And I think that this is where Black people have a strategic advantage because one thing that we claim to understand very well is this thing called faith, right? We go to church and we talk about faith, right? We God and Bible and pastor and all that, right? But the question is, do you exhibit faith when it comes to making difficult decisions, or do you allow your faith to get undermined by your trauma? You understand? Traumatized people, oppressed people have a lot of trauma, which creates a lot of fear and anxiety. So when you run into a situation where you're running your business, something goes wrong, you have a choice. Do I move forward in faith or do I just fold my hand like poker? Right? Because I told you I could make the strength of a good poker player is you can make people fold even when they got a better hand than you. Right? So if I know when I'm playing that someone is gonna fold if I scare them, then I'll just say, okay, let me just double your bet and see what you do then. Let's see how you react. Because if I know you're a coward and you're probably gonna fold, and I really believe here's what I believe. This is my point. I'm gonna really close this up so you understand where I'm going with this. I think white folks get us to fold our hand a lot. I think that the world convinces us to fold a lot. I think fear and trauma causes us to fold our hand before we find out if we really got the best cards. Do you understand? I believe that financial anxiety, financial insecurity causes you to fold your hand before you even try. I want you to process for a minute. I want you to be able to think out loud in the fifth dimension for a moment. I want you to think about how many billion-dollar companies could have been built in the Black community, but somebody had to fold their hand before the game got played out. They couldn't hold on. Well, why couldn't you hold on? Well, because I was broke and I needed to get a job and I had to go work for white folks because I couldn't go build that business because I didn't have enough money to do it. Well, why did that happen? Well, because nobody invested for me when I was a baby. They didn't do things like the $5 a day plan, in which case I would have had enough money to be able to take some chances. But instead, I get dumped in this economy as a financially insecure Black man, which is why my dreams never got fulfilled. Or another time. Well, I had a great idea and I had this great business that I was going to start and but I had to fold and I had to kind of give up. Well, why'd you give up? Well, because things went bad. We had a bad year, so I had to kind of pull out because I was worried that eventually I would go bankrupt and bad things are going to happen. Okay, well, so what happened was your trauma and your fear overcame your desire. You behave like a traumatized person. Traumatized people see risk in a certain way. Traumatized people see risk as, oh my God, if this goes bad, this is going to go wrong, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen, right? People that live on desire are living on faith and courage. They say, yeah, but what if it goes right? Or what if I win? What if I figure this out? And I think a lot of success really comes down to having enough faith to know that if you have the right attitude, If you approach things as a winner, then you're gonna eventually believe, like, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it's going we got perspective, consciousness. Consciousness means seeing the big picture. I see the big picture. The big picture says, yeah, I'm going through it right now. Yeah, it's really hard right now. But if I stick it out and I work hard and I'm a good person, I never give up and I'm relentless and I push and I grow and I learn and I try and I never give up, some good's about to happen. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna figure this out. Right. And the hard part about that is that it would be very easy for me to tell you, like, oh yeah, if you just approach things that way, then everything's always going to work out just fine. No, that's not true. That's not true either. You may have all the confidence in the world and never give up and still have some horrible stuff happen to you. You might really go bankrupt. You might really lose everything. It might not work out. You might go to war with all the confidence in the world and still get shot. That's the hard part too. But I can tell you that there's simple universal facts that always hold true, which is that nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you can't take the risk, then you will not get the reward. And when you have a community where everyone's raised to be an employee and you're not encouraged to be the boss, then you don't understand that. There are so many people who don't have respect for those who built wealth because they think, oh, well, I work hard just like you. I should make as much money as you. Yeah, I'm not saying you didn't work hard, but were you willing to take that chance? Were you willing to sort of, hold your nose and fight through the dark days where there are many times where when you run a business, you make less money than your employees. I can't tell you how many times I had to pay everybody and I got less money than everybody that worked for me. How the hell I get less money than everybody that works for me? I work when I'm the one working 14-hour days. Well, that's the way it works. That's the life I chose. And when that's the life you chose, then that's the code you live by. If I go join a gang, I gotta live by the code of the gang. I gotta live by the street code. I can't decide I want to become an accountant on Tuesday after I decided to pledge my life to the Crips and Bloods on Friday. Like, it doesn't work that way. I gotta make a decision. So you make the decision, for example, to be black. You make the decision to be a wealth builder. You make the decision to break generational curses. That's who you are. That's the life you chose. And you have to go 10 toes down into that thing, not because you being 10 toes down means you're going to be successful. You have to go 10 toes down because 10 toes down means you're maximizing your probability of success. Because at the end of the day, the biggest way to fail in almost anything is when you're overly hesitant about what you're going to do next. You should think things through for sure. Before you invest, you must investigate. But once you've investigated, you have to go. So to just sort of finish full circle, since I gave the poker analogy earlier, one of the styles I adopted when I played was a style from a guy named Doyle Brunson. I might have told you all this, but he played a style that was what they call tight and aggressive. And tight and aggressive meant that most of the time he wasn't going to do anything. He was very tight with his hands, very tight with his chips. But when he put his chips in, he was ready to go broke. He would take you all the way to the limit because he knew that taking you to the limit was going to give him the best opportunity possible to succeed. And so, really, in general, this is to me a type of investing style to consider, which is to say, look, I'm going to be really conservative when it comes to wealth. My first goal as a wealth builder is to preserve the wealth that I have. My first goal is to make sure I don't fumble the ball. So I'm not going to fumble the generational wealth. I'm not going to fumble the stock portfolio. I'm not going to fumble my money doing stupid stuff and getting out here and acting a fool with my resources. I'm not going to do that. But when I make a move, I'm going to go hard. I'm going to give everything in my power to be successful because that is what's going to give me the optimal chance to win. And I'm not going to go through life assuming falsely that luck is the driving factor behind success, or that everybody is created equal, or that somehow because I'm really prepared and qualified, I'm going to be more successful than somebody who might have a little less than me, but they're extremely confident, committed, determined, and focused and willing to fight through the process. That is everything. So let me play this video from this guy. I don't even know this. I just saw it this morning. I said, man, this would be great to talk about in class because it kind of really goes back to this idea that attitude is massive when it comes to financial success and other forms of success. And so anyway, as I share this, Just a reminder, there's a URL above my head, kittyboss.com. Feel free to go there. I have a training called How to Turn Your Child into a Millionaire. So if you have kids and grandkids and you want to help them out, that might be something worth looking at. All right. And also, by the way, in case you're not on the text list for this class, text the word morning on your phone to the number 87948. I'll send you a wake up call. Text morning to 87948. And also, when I send out the link to join the Zoom, you should also register for the Zoom as well. So you'll get like a double reminder in your email, because some of you had mentioned that you didn't get the reminder, but I send it out most days. And so if you want to make sure you get a reminder, you can make sure you sign up for the Zoom as well. All right, so here is the video. I'm gonna play this, and actually I gotta go to the bathroom while we play this. So that's what I'm be doing. I'm be doing with my time. All right, and so here, let's play this. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear this when I play the video. So just give me a quick yes. Let me know it's coming through. Okay, here it goes.
This line is a line of responsibility in life.
Oh, sorry, it's sped up a little bit. So let me speed it up and turn it. I'm gonna speed it to 1.25 so we can get through it.
All your brothers and me, but he said, Billy, I want to say something to you. And he said, he drew a line on the floor and said, this line is the line of responsibility in life. All your brothers and me, we've stayed this side of the line. Somebody's told us if we've got a job. Somebody's told us if we've got overtime. Somebody's told us where we can have meat this weekend. I want you to step over the line. Do not be frightened of failure. Failure is sometimes good in the sense that you need to fail to learn to be better next time, but you have to be big enough to accept failure. You have to cross the line. And that was my impulse to be courageous. I've never not crossed the line. There are 10 steps to greatness. Step 1 is when you start playing at school level, you make the school team. You're on step 1 to greatness. Step 1 to 7 are dominated by talent. Have you got the talent to go through to the next stage? People are looking for talent at that stage. But you get to stage 7 and that becomes the moment of truth, because then it becomes very, very challenging. So that's when it changes to becoming character and talent. Your character takes over. When you get to step 7, almost all of them can go through to the highest level. But when it gets tough, only character can see you through to there. So character and talent, the question is what defines greatness? You can't separate the two things. You have to have the talent. But you don't have to have bundles of talent. That's the mistake that people make. You have to have enough talent, but you have to have the character. You have to have the character to face and stay at the game and fight and plow through injuries and get back on the field. And I think that I would say the answer to your question, what greatness, has to be enough talent plus great character. There is a lesson being learned as we go along, and that is the process is the key thing, not the outcome. The outcome is, I want to win a gold medal. Fine, you want to win a gold medal? Put it on the shelf, there's the gold medal. Now let me tell you what it takes to win a gold medal. This is the process you're going to have to do. And then the athlete now has got to commit to the process. I coached England 66 times at basketball. I can remember 3 results, but I remember the process. I remember the moments, the people, the friendships, the humour. And I think that's what is a very important lesson in sport, is to be driven by the outcome, but also to love the process. I mean, the process is so, you learn so much about yourself. You become such a better person because of the process, because you're committing to something and you're really working hard. And that's energizing, that's life enhancing. Life is 8 out of 10. It's how you deal with the 2 that counts. We're all good at dealing with the 8. It's dealing with the 2 that counts to having a successful life. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone, and it takes great courage to step across that line. It's the easiest thing in this world of ours is to stay comfortable in a centrally heated flat with your television or your screens, somebody provide entertainment for you, ringing Deliveroo, getting your meals. It's easy. We are looking for people in our society who step out of that and face challenge, and that is difficult. So they come to us because they need somebody to take them up in the helicopter, look at the big picture and say, at the moment you feel like this challenge is overwhelming you. Look at it. It's okay. You've got so many good things in your life. This is just one little thing. You can deal with this. And that injection of perspective and confidence is so important to people at the critical moments of their career. Somebody with their arm around the shoulder saying, you can deal with this. What's the worst that can happen? We can deal with this. We can deal with this. I think we've gone down the wrong path in trying to make our children too happy without challenging them, giving them what they want. It's so easy now in this world of ours to offset their needs by giving them. And so Tom and I have talked about this, and I've got the philosophy that I don't want my grandchildren to be happy at no cost. They've got to flourish. So we teach them as a family to deal with their own challenges, not to look to us. We won't do anything for them. We'll allow them to try it themselves, make their own hot chocolate, make their own meal, and then we'll help them if they struggle. Clients come to us because they've got the story wrong. They're overwhelmed. They can't see a way through. Our job is to change the story, to give them strategies to see the way through, and as well as that, to give them confidence, to be the voice in their head, to inject belief. And I think that's, for me, very interesting now, because I'm dealing with a lot more business people who've come to work with me, because they're very good at business, but they've lost themselves. They're not good at managing themselves, which is tragic, really. And that's happening more and more. So I think that is a very interesting challenge for me, to help them find themselves. What is the real you? What do you want? How badly do you want it? How much are you willing to suffer? To ask the right questions to get them back in track. Sorry, my voice is going a bit. It's a Parkinson's problem. I've got Parkinson's the same time as two of our friends, similar age. And I've emerged from it far better than them, luckily. But I think one of the reasons is that the things we're talking about, I apply to my Parkinson's every day. There's a great story one of my players sent me. Clint Eastwood was playing golf. And his golf partner said, how old are you, Clint? He said, 88 on Monday. He said, how are you celebrating? He said, I'm starting a new movie. He said, how do you manage? He said, I wake up every morning and don't let the old man in. I wake up every morning and don't let the old man in. And I think that's what sports psychology has done for me at this stage of my life. I try and be, every day I set myself the challenge to be the best 79-year-old with Parkinson's that there is. And that's sometimes I'm a victim, sometimes I'm not so good, sometimes I'm a fighter, but it's got me through some difficult phases. And that's what I've realised with sports psychology. It makes you a better person, because I'm teaching people. I need to do it myself. I'm learning while I'm teaching them. At first I had a box around myself, sport. I've gone outside that box now. I've gone to life. And I've realised that high performance, most people are high performers. If you're a mum with 3 kids and you get through the day and you put them to bed fed and clean, that's a hell of a performance. And so our lessons are for everybody. And I think the key learning moments, critical moments, unfortunately tend to come when we break down. And our job is break down to break through. We've got to find a way to break down. But often relationships only, because when you're in breakdown, you face the truth. There's nowhere else to go. A relationship breaks down. You've nowhere else to go. All the lies disappeared, all the pretense disappeared, and you've got truth staring you in the face. What are we going to do about this? What's happy? Tell me when you're happy. And when is enough? When have you got enough money? Because they don't think. They're on a roller coaster. They don't think. COVID was fantastic for me because it got people off the roller coaster. They had time to stop thinking about their career and start thinking about themselves. Many of them came to the conclusion, I'm not happy with myself. What am I doing? There's no richness in my life. So it's about, it's gone a very interesting turn. And of course now I'm much more empathetic. I'm being vulnerable myself and coming to the end of my life. Not just yet. We'll get to the pub first. But it does bring a rich perspective. I mean, they say that if you want pure honesty, talk to someone in the deathbed. Because where else have you got to go to but saying, I wish I'd done more of this, I wish I'd done more of that. I'm sorry I said this, I'm sorry. It's interesting, there's 2 kinds of eulogists at funerals. I have to go to a few funerals lately with good friends. There's a eulogy that says, this is what he did in his career. And they give you a CV. Marvellous. Then there's a eulogy that says, this is who he was. He was a good man. He was a good father. He loved his children. He was warm. He was empathetic. He helped people. I know which one I prefer.
Okay, let's read this, and then I'll stop this on here. It says, "I'm afraid that it was rather late in life that I realized that the family was the most important team, and I'm glad to of the chance to dedicate this book to my wife and my two sons." So, this might help you understand. Again, this is my bias, and you have the right to decide how you feel about this, but when they took away our families and they saw us divided as a group, and they made sure that that happened, I think we have to understand how that didn't just steal our wealth because family is deeply connected to wealth, but it stole so many things that are more valuable than money. And and the reality is at the end of the day, when you're talking about the skill sets required for quote unquote success, it is so much deeper than just simply knowing how to do something or knowing the skill that you need to get a certain job or certain opportunities or whatever, right? And so really, and basically the quote, I can't show the quote against Sharon. I'm sorry, it's off the screen, but I lost the screen. But I will say that it basically was him saying that he knew his family was the most important team, and so that really speaks to a lot of these soft skills that are required to be successful when you're talking about investing, business, finance, and everything. And really, again, going back to what it means to make an investment, it is the allocation of a scarce resource to pursue a higher objective. That would be one definition. So, what is a scarce resource? Yeah, your money is scarce, but it's not just your money, it's also your time. It's also your love. It's your energy. It's your attention. These are all scarce resources. So every day when for example, when you come in here and you choose to share your attention with me, I don't take that lightly. That is, I tell you guys to come to class. You don't have to pay money, but you have to pay attention. So you are paying something. You're giving something to just be here, and we're giving something to each other, and we're creating a reciprocal ecosystem, which I hope that's the goal, where we invest in each other and help each other succeed, right? So ultimately, here are a few things to keep in mind. I know we've pushed on a little bit further than I wanted to go today, because later on I got to meet with those of you that are in the mastermind and stuff like that. But I wanted to sort of lay out a couple of things in terms of how your blackness and the curse of low expectations affects your economic and educational outcomes. The curse of low expectations, it starts when we go to school and they assume that because you're a black boy or a black girl, there's only certain things you'll be capable of achieving. And then those self-fulfilling prophecies get reinforced, sometimes by other black people around us. I still remember when I was in college and I made really good grades, and I didn't have a lot of friends that I hung out with and studied with because I would go to the library for 7 or 8 hours. My friends would go to the library for an hour or two. And I remember a lady telling me, she said, I don't know why you study so hard. You're only gonna go as far as white people want you to go. And I thought that was the craziest thing to say. That I said, man, you're not gonna succeed in life because you've already decided that you're gonna be a loser. I said, I'm not going as far as white people want me to go. I'm gonna go as far as I choose to go. I got a higher authority. I'm going as far as God wants me to go. And me and God got a plan, and it ain't got nothing to do with his plan. Like, so you can go through life and feel like he's defeated you and that he's gonna control you and stop you and oppress you at every turn. I'm choosing a different approach. And so it doesn't mean that these variables aren't out there. But when Michael Jordan won championships, he knew he was going to always have an opponent. The opponent's existence did not determine whether or not he was going to win a game or not. It mattered for sure. And if he didn't have the energy and the will to overcome the opponent, then yes, the opponent's existence could stop everything. But if you are determined to overcome the obstacle to solve the problem, then you will be successful. This is the reason why I would argue to you that the number one approach to anything involving the struggles that come with being black or being a mom or being a man or being a human, you should always aim for the solution. You should always aim for the solution. Never stop short with just the problem or complaining about the problem or just talking about the problem and reminding yourself of the problem. Because what psychologists will tell you is that when you dwell on a problem and you dwell on the problem as if it's unsolvable, then what you're going to effectively do is make it unsolvable for yourself. Do you understand? Does that make sense? That if you dwell on a problem long enough, then you are making that problem into an even bigger monster than it already is. So it's already hard. It is already hard enough. You already have enough challenges with being black. We don't need to add to that. Okay. All right. So let me give you some things to walk away with. This will apply to not just investing, but really everything. But with investing, there is what you might call a winning attitude, and the winning attitude really connects to how you deal with adversity. If you notice in that speech, he talked about people that have enough talent. He said talent matters, but you get to the point where everybody's talented, and then your character takes over. So it's not just how talented you are; it's what is your character. I think an example in sports, honestly, might be if you consider a great sprinter like Sha'Carri Richardson with another great sprinter like Sydney McLaughlin. Sydney and Sha'Carri are probably equally talented, but Sydney has a little more self-discipline, at least based on the choices she's had, whereas Sha'Carri, unfortunately, has become her own worst enemy. And why is that? Well, I would argue it's because it's a consciousness thing, it's a healing thing. Sha'Carri has a lot of trauma, and I don't think she's fully healed from the trauma. Uh, Sydney, if you listen to Sydney talk, she's connected to something bigger than herself. She has a type of peace that comes with the fact that she's very religious. So she goes to church with her husband, and everything's centered around God, and that is her process to healing, right? So again, I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying that this is what I observe. So character is reflected by how you deal with the same frustrations, same trauma, same challenges as everybody else. Also, he said something about the process. He said that in winning, the process matters more than the outcome. So a lot of times when it comes to investing, there are so many people I see that will only think about they'll invest in a way where they feel like they're only going to be happy when they reach the goal. They say I'm going to be happy once I get that house, so I'm going to be happy once I get so much money in my account. I'm going to be happy when my business gets to a certain level. And what he seems to be implying is that number one, I think finding your way to happiness now and happiness in the middle of the process is incredibly important because you're going to spend 99.9% of your time climbing the mountain and 0.1% of your time standing on top of it. Right. So you can't delay your happiness until you climb the mountain. You have to find a way to be happy while you're climbing and fall in love with the process. He said that the process really shapes everything. When you win, winning is only show and tell. Or if someone has a certain amount of money in their bank account, or a certain level of business that they're doing, or they win an award, the award or the victory is only a moment in time. What's really the iceberg itself, not the tip of the iceberg, is the actual process to get there. So the question you want to ask yourself is this: every day when you get up, what is your freaking process? When you invest, what is your process? Are you an aggressive investor that's really going as hard as you can, or are you an investor who kind of halfway does things and doesn't follow through on the things that you promise yourself you're going to do, or allows your fear to guide your decision making? Your process will tell me every single thing I need to know about your outcome. Your process is everything. And the process is something that I encourage you to meditate on. Every day we get up, we all have 24 hours in a day. We have 168 hours in a week. We have 8,760 hours in a year. What are you doing with that time? How are you investing that time? So before you talk about how you're investing your money, I want to know how you're investing your time because you're going to invest far more time than you are money. Also, he talks about life beginning at the edge of your comfort zone. Traumatized people have a hard time getting out of their comfort zone because they're afraid that the trauma's on the other side of that wall. And now what is true is challenges will probably lie on the other side of that wall. Things that are not familiar lie on the other side of that wall. A little bit of discomfort probably lies on the other side of that wall. But if you have a process for knowing how to sort of internalize it and deal with it and not freak out over it, then what happens is you'll go through a little bit of discomfort, but you'll be in growth mode, which means you're going to be stronger when it's done. Companies grow that way. When the way companies grow is when a company's in growth mode, there's a lot more volatility. When companies are in growth mode, it's very expensive. When companies are in growth mode, they don't pay dividends because they have to apply all their economic energy toward one thing, which is growing, just like a newborn baby. When a baby's born, the baby isn't making money for the family. The baby is maybe crying a lot. The baby is having growing pains. The baby's taking in lots of food. And why do you feed the baby? Well, you feed the baby not just because you love the baby, which is important. Like your business might be the baby that you love, but you feed the baby also because you know that once he finishes growing, he's going to be a big, strong man, big, strong woman, and be able to do other things. So when you're in growth mode, you're like that baby. When you're in growth mode, you're going to have some volatility, emotionally and otherwise. Financial volatility. Lord Jesus, if you ever want to know what a weird experience is like that day you quit your job and you know that you don't have that paycheck coming in anymore, and you got to hustle to make your money, you got to kill what you eat. That's volatile. That's tough. And this is why things like family matter. In fact, if I was to give you some ideas on how to deal with that, I would really think carefully about how you process even relationships. If you're going through a volatile period, it's much easier to go through it with somebody that's got your back, somebody who understands what you're doing, maybe somebody who's got some resources, right? Like people, these guys out here chasing women because they're cute. These women out here chasing men because they sound romantic. I don't know what the hell people are doing, but I'm sitting there saying, okay, you're trying to go through this journey of life, this growth process. It's going to be really hard for you. And when you had an opportunity to make one of the most important investments of your life, you kind of fumbled the ball a little bit. Your lack of consciousness, I'm dating this girl because she's pretty and nothing else. That's going to cost you in other areas. So because now you're trying to start this business, and this woman that you picked because of how pretty she was is completely undermining everything that you're trying to do. She, you save a nickel, she spends a dime. You want to focus, she don't let you focus. You have to, something goes wrong, she's nagging you and complaining as opposed to supporting you. Well, because you didn't process who you were trying to go through this journey with. These journeys are easier when you have teammates, and so I would be thoughtful and conscious about the spaces that you operate. I would try to seek spaces that have strong identities where you're going to get affirmed. That means maybe it's part of a community or a group or just people that you can talk to who vibe and get what you're trying to do. That's really important. If you talk about not internalizing the oppression that comes with being black, you shouldn't, in my opinion, ever start with a deficit model. Being black is not just hard. It doesn't just come with all these negative outcomes. Being black is beautiful. It's extraordinary. You're talented. You're fortunate. You're blessed to be black. Right. And so to me, I think that sort of self affirmation by reframing what you're dealing with and who you are, I think goes a very long way. Positive attitudes really make a big difference in everything you do, because what that does is that doesn't guarantee success, but it maximizes the probability of success, right? Like, think about it. If I'm going through something where I've already got a 50-50 chance of this working out, well, if I come in with the wrong attitude, then I can take a 50-50 chance and turn it into a 20-80 chance where I've got a 80% chance of failure because my attitude is off. All the research, all the studies show that people that come into situations with confidence and a positive attitude are far more likely to be successful. They're far more likely to overcome adversity. They're far more likely to be successful in business, investing, and everything else. Like, so for example, right now, the stock market is having a dark day. Today, everything's red. It's blood red. And here's the thing about investing. You might have a whole month of dark days. You might have a whole year of red. Right. And if you can't process that year, then you will never, ever, you will not have the ability to join us on the other side of the mountaintop when everybody's making money. If you can't go through the hell, then then heaven is not an option for you. Do you understand? The path to heaven lies through hell sometimes. So if today is the first of many bad days as an investor, you got to ask yourself in advance, how am I going to show up for that? What kind of person am I going to be when things get a little tough and get a little shaky and I start getting nervous and I'm worried about what if this stock keeps on going down? What am I going to do? If you start tweaking like a crackhead, then you're not going to make it, man. You're going to have to find a procedure to calm yourself down so you can remind yourself of the bigger picture. Why am I doing this? What is the long-term goal? Okay. Dr. Boyce said in class that 10-year periods, if you hold on for 5 to 10 years, that typically increases your odds of success. Like things like that. You got to find some procedure that's going to help you get through that. Because as I talk to a lot of you, I've talked to thousands of you, one-on-one, small group, etc. What I see consistently is a lot of fear. a lot of fear. That fear is something that's it's this ugly beast because it creates what you've probably heard of, which is called a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fear ends up taking a bad situation and making it catastrophic. In fact, tomorrow when Dr. Alicia does her trauma healing training in class, one thing that one term I've heard my wife use a lot because I listen to her a lot on these things is she says everything she would say to me. She would say this to me because I'm traumatized. I grew up with a lot of trauma. I didn't even know it. She would say, "Boyce, everything's not a catastrophe." And I remember asking her, I said, so you're saying traumatized people, we tend to catastrophize things. We see one thing go wrong and we assume that means everything's gone wrong, right? You ever see people like that, right? Or you get in one argument, they don't want to be your friend ever again, or something goes wrong in their business and they just give up and walk away forever, or whatever it is, right? I think it's kind of like it's interesting because in a way it's sort of like this one of these things where you're part of a long story and it's supposed to be a 20-year adventure and you're walking away in the first 10 minutes of the adventure because the first 10 minutes were really bad, right? And so what consciousness allows you to do is it gives you perspective where you, like the guy said in the video, he said take the helicopter up, look at the big picture, right? And you say, oh wait, this is a 20-year journey. Why am I tripping over the first 10 minutes? Same thing is true when you talk about stock market investing. Don't you ever dare start feeling bad about your portfolio because you had a bad week. Who cares? In 5 years, you won't even remember what happened that week. Don't feel bad because you have a bad month. Because in 5 or 10 years, you won't remember what. If I was to ask you, um, what happened to your portfolio in the eighth week of 2023? Not one of you, I guarantee you, not one of you would be able to answer that question for me. Not one of you. But I guarantee you that during that week, if it was a really bad week, you were probably feeling some kind of way because things were not working in your favor. So do you understand the difference? My good buddy Willie from the Ghetto Boys, he had that song, that really famous song, "My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me." Right? Do 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 do. Right? And I think that happens with investing. I think your mind plays tricks on you. Your mind makes you afraid of things that don't actually exist. You start being scared of things that go bump in the night and boogeymen that don't exist. And so part of you assessing risk properly and investing in the right way means knowing the difference between a real threat versus an imaginary threat. It doesn't mean threats don't exist. They do exist, but you got to know the difference, and you can't sort of create threats where there are none. And that's what traumatized people do. This is why trauma healing is essential for anybody that wants to ever build anything that's hard. You have to fix that stuff. All right, so I'm done. I'm going to finish talking. And so I would encourage you also to celebrate your little wins. That's another thing, another way to keep positive. Every time I have a little win, I stop myself, and I'm feeling bad about something else. I'll stop myself and say, no, let's clap for you, Boyce. Let's talk about the things that you did and things you accomplished. Look at what you did this week. You stuck to your process. You did this, and did this. All right. So then, even before I start confronting myself over what went wrong, I take the time to sort of celebrate what went right. So and then the process I think is really important. So when you one thing about the process as well is that winners tend to not judge themselves by failure. They look at failure as information, more information. Remember when I started in the beginning, I was talking about poker and how the goal in my mind when I play is I want to get as much information as possible. So winners tend to see failures and setbacks as okay, that's the best way to not solve this problem. Or I did this and that didn't work. Now I'm wiser and better and more effective when it comes to approaching this issue. In fact, what winners tend to do is they tend to look at losses not so much as absolute losses, but as investments that are going to pay off in the future, right? So you think about it, when you run a business, there's two categories. When you spend money as a business, let me ask you all a question. Is it good or is it bad? If a company's spending lots of money, is that bad? Is it good? What do you say? Answer in the chat for me. Is it bad or good when a company is just spending money like crazy? What do you think? Do you think it's bad because the expenses are too high? Or you think it's good? What do you think? Right? If you have been in class for a while, you know the right answer. The right answer is it depends. It depends. Is that money you spent, is that an expense? Or that money you spent, is it an investment? There's a big difference. An expense is a drain against your revenue. It causes your profitability to go down in the moment for sure, without a doubt. But then there's another category where that same expense could be what they call capitalized. And in that particular context, that expense or that money that was spent is not seen as a waste. It's seen as an investment. It's seen as an investment. It's like if I'm trying to be a championship boxer, I gotta eat food, but there's a big difference between me eating a high protein diet with vegetables and whatever I need to win versus me going to Dairy Queen. If I go to Dairy Queen, then that's not good for me as a boxer. That's not gonna help me fight better. But if I'm eating some fish and chicken in between training exercises, then that's gonna make me into a greater winner. So a lot of times when you have that loss, your mindset determines whether you capitalize that loss and it becomes a building block to greater successes later on, or whether or not it becomes a loss, or a pure loss or an expense where you had the loss, you gave up, and then it just becomes a big pile of wasted time. I guarantee you this: most people who are wealthy and successful, if you ask them, tell me about some of your biggest mistakes and your biggest losses, they could probably talk to you all day. They could talk to you all day. They can, in fact, a lot of you successful people who are in the room, say, give me a confirmation on this. Let me know, because a lot of you are very successful. I've spoken to a lot of you. A lot of you are already doing amazing things, and I guarantee you, anybody who's successful has a long list of what might be seen as losses, but they capitalized on it because they never gave up. And then when you don't give up, you're continuing the story. You've seen the big picture. You know that this is only one chapter in a big book, and so you keep writing the book. And then at the end of the book, you say, "Oh, that chapter was tough. This chapter was really tough. But here's what I learned from here, and here's what I learned from that, and that's what made me great at the end." So your losses are truly a blessing. That's the point. Your losses are a blessing. The negatives can be a blessing. Your haters are a blessing. Before Nipsey Hussle died, last thing he said on the text was he said, "Haters are a blessing." I know exactly what he meant. Haters are a blessing because opponents and challenges make you stronger. That's what makes you more resilient. So if you're raising your children in a way where they don't have any challenges and you solve every problem for them and you avoid all discomfort and all pain, like this guy said on the video, then your children, unfortunately, you might be making them weak, and so as opposed to making them strong. Strength typically comes through discomfort and a little bit of pain. No pain, no gain. That's typically kind of how life works, and it sucks, but that's kind of what it is. All right. So anyway, let's finish up for today. So if you want to join us in class tomorrow, make sure you're on the text list. If you're not, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, right now, I sent you all a text. I'll send it all later on today. If you want to buy autographed copies of my book and resell them in this room, you can buy them for $14 or $14.99 or something like that. The retail price is $40. So if you're starting an investment club at your church or with your friends or a home school or whatever it is, you can feel free to buy as many of my books as you want. I will sign every one of them. And because my signature, I guess, from what I've gathered, it has some value in certain spaces. You can say, I've got this autographed copy of Dr. Boyce's book. You can buy it from me for $30. It's cheaper than it is on the website. And so you buy it from us for $14.99. Then the Black Business School gets some resources, and then you resell it for $30, $40, whatever you want to sell it for. You can sell it in conjunction with a class you're doing or whatever it is you're doing. Then you're able to succeed, and then also the person who is introduced to these ideas can win as well. So it creates kind of a win-win-win, and that's our effort to create a great ecosystem that allows all of us to flourish and to be successful. So if you want to take advantage of that, I will text the link out to you guys later on today, and you can buy as many copies as you want. You guys have bought probably 100,000 copies of my book, and I have signed every single one of them that where you guys have requested the signature. And so I want to feed your ecosystem as much as you're supporting ours. And because really, at the end of the day, what has to happen is black wealth can't be centralized. We can't have sort of one place that becomes the Vatican of this. We have to have this as something that is literally everywhere, where all of us everywhere in all of our communities, all of our neighborhoods, all of our families are doing this because you know that we can agree on this. I don't care what you're whether Democrat, Republican, old or young or whatever. All of us can agree. Tell me if you agree with this, that we've got to fix this economic issue in our community. And we I hope we all agree on this, that the economics is something that is really important to us being able to be who we want to be, have the freedom that we deserve, build the way we want to build. We solve the economic problem, a lot of other problems will be solved as well. So I'm asking you, if you're passionate about this, to not just sort of take it in, but go ahead and put it out. Like share that. That's your, black power, black economic power, I think should be a gospel that all of us are sharing with anybody that we love and care about, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be required for us to do the heavy lifting to make this whole thing work. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you gained something from today. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. As you know, we do